And with me is Alan Bell. We're recording this literally as the general election final results are coming in. Ed Miliband's gone. We literally heard that. Pleased? Yeah. I mean, we were following on from our last week looking ahead. I mean, is this good news for the Isle of Man?
Well, I think there's 2 points here, really. The whole outcome of last night completely flies in the face of all the predictions and the poll forecasts we had right up to the night before, really. So that will make a lot of people think about the accuracy of some of these polls. I think from the Isle of Man's point of view, and the final results are still coming in at the moment, but my view at the moment is it's probably the best possible outcome that the Isle of Man could get.
They were both going for the offshores, but Conservatives were more requesting information and things like that. Their tone was slightly one down from the Labour who were demanding it.
Yes, but you also need to understand that the Tories are a coalition with the Lib Dems, and we have people like Danny Alexander and Vince Cable driving the anti-offshore agenda in the Tory party. Whether it'll soften now that they're out of power remains to be seen. But certainly I would believe there will be a different approach, at least with Mr Cameron and his new government, than we might have got if Mr Miliband had been in power. So in that sense, in no way are we saying that the pressure's off, but it will be a different and possibly a more understanding pressure than we might otherwise have been faced.
Okay, well that moves on, and elections over there is one thing, but elections in the Isle of Man, trying to get somebody into the upper chamber, being an MLC, is proving, well, it's not the first time this has happened, but it's starting to get farcical again, isn't it, really?
It is. It's an extreme embarrassment for the House of Keys, and it's damaging the reputation of the House of Keys. Some members are suggesting that somehow this is an example of why we need to get rid of LegCo. This has got nothing to do with LegCo. This is the inability of the House of Keys to carry out their statutory duty, which is to elect members to LegCo. It may well be that the rules which we drew up a few years ago, which I voted against, I have to say, are an encumbrance to getting a result, particularly the issue of having to get 13 votes. That, especially under the present circumstances where we're 3 members short anyway, is an almost impossible task. But I do believe there is game playing amongst some of the members, in part to secure the election of their own favoured candidate, and also there are a number of members who haven't been voting at all in an attempt, in their eyes, to discredit the LegCo. But as I say, the only people being discredited in this is the House of Keys, who are failing to carry out their statutory duty.
How it was explained to me was interesting that obviously you were 2 voters down anyway because those 2 have gone up. But then if someone's the person who wants to go up, the candidate, he'll plump vote himself.
Yes, of course.
His sponsor will plump vote for himself. Usually. And if you take the 3 people trying to get in there, immediately you're probably never going to get those numbers as it stands.
No, well, this week we had 21 members only because Mrs Cannell, of course, was off for obvious reasons. And with all this game playing going on, and bearing in mind you have 3 candidates trying to hit 13 votes, it's an almost impossibility unless one of the candidates drops out. That releases possibly other votes, you're not going to get it.
But what happens if only 2 people stand for 2 places? Would you actually go through the whole election process, or do they automatically get in?
They still have to get 13 votes, I think.
So technically, even though you've got the right amount of people for the job...
That's my understanding. Right. It's not an automatic selection. They still have to have the endorsement of the House of Keys, as I understand it.
Okay, but next time round, there's going to be a bit of more, well, head banging. We keep banging our heads together here.
Well,
make some decisions.
This is entirely a parliamentary decision. It's nothing to do with the government. As Chief Minister, I have no more influence on it than any other member of the House of Keys. I'm just one vote. So it's for the House of Keys to sort out its own approach to this. And I'm very pleased that the Speaker has announced this week that he's going to refer the whole issue to the Standing Orders Committee to see if there can be a revision in the approach. But I think this will need primary legislation changing. It's in legislation, if I remember rightly. And so there's no possibility of the changes coming in time to resolve this current issue. It may prevent an impasse in the future, but not at the moment.
Hasn't all leave been suspended if it carries on or something? Did I hear that right? Or,
yes.
Make sure that you stay here and don't book your summer holiday until we sort this out.
He's already booked a date in August for a potential vote, and it's members' own fault, because they need to focus on what their responsibilities are, and let's get this over with. Okay. It's not helping anyone, and it's certainly not helping the reputation of the House of Keys. Okay.
Finally, let's talk about the promenade. It's been big news this week. In fact, it is our most popular video, which is not a surprise to me, because anything involving that and the horse trams is everyone's got an interest in it. Your thoughts on what's been put forward?
Well, this is an extension or a continuation, really, of the regeneration work that's been going on in Douglas now for quite some time. As I've said on many occasions, Douglas, the appearance of Douglas, has been roundly criticised by many, many people over the years, because who want to invest here, want to bring their business here. We are starting to make some headway. We have lost business, there's no question about that, because of the appearance.
I'm more interested in this radical look, though. Do you go with it? Because it's minimalistic and roundels and no roundabouts.
Yes, it's certainly different. It's an attempt to make the whole area more user-friendly for pedestrians. The work is long overdue, because the whole stretch is becoming dangerous, even for vehicles, let alone pedestrians. But I think a lot of thought has gone into it. This type of scheme has been successful in other places. I think it started in Holland. It's been rolled out in London and the south of England, very, very busy areas. That seems to work very well.
Even in Ramsey to some degree, that little area just up by the courthouse, which has a raised bit, makes people slow down, I think, as well.
It does. It's made a big difference in Ramsey. The whole scheme now is a lot more user-friendly. Cars do slow down. It's no doubt at all. It's had a big difference there, and therefore pedestrians are actually safer in the street than they were before.
Are you relaxed about the price it's going to come in at?
It is, well, it would appear to be on the high side, but you need to understand the ingredients in this. The argument that I've heard from many people, because this has been work that's been screaming to be carried out for years, why can't you just plane the surface, resurface it, and then just leave it at that? Ordinarily, that's what you do. That's what we do on most roads, and it is a much cheaper way of doing it. The problem we've got in the promenade is that the substructure is breaking up, and that there is a concrete substructure. The whole of the
Peel Road was also break up, but they managed that, but
they did at a cost.
Yes.
But I think the promenade is even in a worse situation, because obviously we have the ingress of sea water from time to time as well, which goes under the road. That hasn't helped. So it's not just a matter of resurfacing the promenade. You've actually got to rebuild the promenade, and that's where the cost comes. Now, I have said on many occasions, the era of the Isle of Man and Rolls-Royce projects is over. We've got to make sure we get absolute value for money out of it, and that's what the department will be looking for. £21 million is a projected cost at the moment, but it still has to go through Tynwald. It still has to get all the approvals.
It's going to get diluted, though, isn't it?
And
do you not think that it'll end up with pelican crossings where they're going for zebras and roundabouts instead of roundels?
I do think that the scheme that they've got at the moment will ultimately get Tynwald approval. There will be obviously comment about the cost. I'm sure there is concern there. There is also, of course, still a debate which will rumble on about the position or otherwise of the horse trams, whether we should abandon them altogether now, or whether we should find another way of accommodating them.
And your view? Do you have one?
There's a cost. Well, it's for the people of Douglas.
Diplomatic answer.
Douglas Corporation, I understand, are behind it. It will cost somewhere between 3 or 4 million as part of that 21 million just for the horse trams. But it is a major feature of Douglas. It's been a long-term tourist attraction. If people feel that's still appropriate, then we will have to accommodate it. But overall, we have absolutely got to improve the environmental quality of the promenade. We have to make it safer for traffic. We certainly have to make it safer for pedestrians, and we have to improve the overall look of the town. It'll cost a lot of money, but if we get that right, together with the other regeneration work we've done in the retail area and around the sea terminal, Douglas will be a far more attractive proposition for future investors, for new business to come to, as well as improving the environment for our local people. So there is a long-term payback on getting this right. If we do a cheap and cheerful job now, in 5 years' time we'll be coming back doing the same thing again. So let's do it right now. My only concern about it, I think, is the timing of it. Initially, when this was first proposed, they were talking about anything up to 10 years to get this work done. Now, that's wholly unacceptable for the level of disruption for such a long period of time. We're now talking a minimum of 3, possibly 5 years if there are problems. I would like to see that time frame reduced as much as it possibly could. We need to get this work done as quickly as we can to minimise disruption and restore the promenade to its former glories.
But back to where we started. I mean, when it goes to Tynwald and it doesn't get through on the nod, and it gets sends back. Mr. Gunn's already said if it doesn't get it as he wants it like that, it will mean going back and revisiting the whole thing again.
It will depend on what the concerns are. For example, if Tynwald votes out the principle of keeping the horse trams, that means the whole scheme will have to be redesigned, and it will probably have to go to consultation again, and that could cost us a year in our work.
You're going to try and focus people to get it through them?
We really must get focused on the need to do something. The other danger, I suppose, which drives me insane at times, I have to say, we are now roughly 12 months away from an election, and there is a tradition among some members to avoid anything that might be controversial on the run-up to a general election. Previous administrations have tended to run out of steam in the last 12 months because of that. I believe passionately we have been elected to do a job for our people. We have a lot of challenges to deal with, and we need to be working flat out right up to the day of the election. And this is an important infrastructure development which absolutely has to be delivered for the people of Douglas, for the people of the island, and for the island's economy, and we must drive this forward.
Okay. I wonder how long we'll be talking about this. Time will tell.
Well, I'm sure you'll get an invitation to the opening when it's all finished.